All right, a few weeks ago, there was a teen there in California by the name of Dalen Noble. 19 years old, he's fatally shot by the California police. All right, I don't know if it's Fresno or the Highway Patrol. But when you see this video, all right, I want you to understand something, all right, on this particular video. Probably about maybe 8, 9, 10 times they ask to see this teen's hands, both of them. They do have their guns drawn, and we cannot draw a perspective or a point of view at this particular time why the guns are drawn. But we do know this. We can see it clearly on the dash cam. On their body cam. That they've asked numerous of times for this man to show both his hands. He should have complied. He didn't comply. All right, he gets out of the vehicle. And this is where I'm going to say, and this is why I keep trying to tell you, it's about being fair and balanced with what we can see, the general public can see. Because here's a young white man. He jumps out of the vehicle. All right, watch this now. And the actual police are exercising restraint. They're exercising restraint and professionalism at this time. Okay? So, he gets out of the vehicle and they still are asking him numerous of times to let us see your hands. All right? He still doesn't show. And I'm like, man, show your hands, brother, and quit and stop putting your hand behind your back. These people are trained to shoot. And of course, what does he keep doing? He keeps going behind his back, showing his, and at that time, in my personal professional opinion, is that the cops were in the right to neutralize and eliminate this target. Let me use the word neutralize first, because apparently he did get eliminated. What I do disagree with is after the man is on the ground, the cops are still giving commands to somebody who already has 2 bullets in them. You see, in my military training, a situation like that, after we would have shot someone, we would have immediately rushed the target. And we would have proceeded forth from there to subdue him. That's the reason why I keep telling you, there's a whole lot of different training that's going on with the police department as opposed to military. Now, am I saying that the police department should be militarized? No, I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying that there's a different level of professionalism from a soldier and a civilian cop that's on the beat out here in the cities. I can't say in this particular instance right here that they shouldn't have shot the man, because they had already told him, I can't tell you how many times, he should have complied. As far as putting extra bullets in him, because the man is still reaching. I don't know if he's reached because of where he got shot at. At that point, my personal opinion is it's an excessive use of force. That's my personal opinion. But I can exercise restraint. They have the law of this land behind them that no matter what they do, it's going to be on their side. Now, am I being biased? No, I just got finished telling you clearly that they were in the right to me up to a point. Now, you can go on YouTube and see, and I'm not drawing racial narratives here, just in case, I'm just speaking facts here. The latest 2 shootings, we saw 2 men shot to death, murdered in cold blood for a whole lot less than what we just got finished seeing right there. So my question is this: are the police holding more restraint and being more disciplined when it comes to white citizens, and then they all but literally lose their mind when it comes to a black man or black citizens, then they just shoot and kill him? Why don't they get the same amount of excessive warning? Why don't they get the same amount of treatment? I mean, these are the questions that need to be asked, because the truth is, we'll never, ever, ever, all of us, we're never going to agree on these matters. And I'm going to tell you the reason why we don't agree on these matters. No, I'm not going to go in that right now. I'll go into another video. Because all of our experiences are different. And when we're, most people, they comment from emotion. They comment from conscience. Who knows what that conscience may be? But there's very, very few people that actually have had experiences that they speak from to the point that they have developed an attitude that they simply cannot trust the police. Hillary Clinton said yesterday, and see, when I listen to it with a total different ear than what you do. He says, you know what a beautiful response it was down there in Dallas. They're asking, why don't we all just come together? Why don't you all just even join us? All right, join us. Watch this. And she said over 500 people filled out applications to join the police department in some capacity. That's called helping us. Well, you ask me, what do you think about that, Pastor? Don't you think it's a good gesture? No, not at all. As a matter of fact, my experience, again, is totally different. Let me give you an example. This morning, I had an actual quote. All right, where is it at? From Lyndon B. Johnson, okay? I want to quote you something from Lyndon B. Johnson, and I really, truly need for you all to hear me out. Really, truly listen to me, because when I say quote, I'm not quoting my words, but I'm talking about a system here. You have to understand that. I want everybody to please listen if you can. I'm going to state some facts here, okay? There was a time in history that my people were brought over from the continent that is commonly called Africa. Africa was a continent that was renamed after a European by the name of Leo Scipius Africanus. All right, and America is named by Amerigo Vespucci. All right, Amerigo Vespucci. And so now we have two designations put up on us by two Europeans. From when you look at what happened in both continents, both of them were unjust and unwarranted, and definitely crimes against humanity. All right, so now we have the designation African American. There was a man by the name of Nat Turner. Nat Turner, he was a slave, born a slave. I can't tell you what generation he was, but he was born a slave. And so Nat Turner, he turned around, he became a preacher. He started reading the Bible. And in reading the Bible, he had come to the conclusion that he needed to rise up against his oppressor and kill them. What does America do? Does not America go around and rise up against what they call oppression and go and kill them? He found out that according to what the Bible says, that slavery is unjust. We shouldn't be in these conditions, not the way that they are using this system of slavery against us for economic gain. He got tired of watching his people getting raped, murdered, lynched, worked out in the fields all day long, beaten. The girls, good looking, was taken for house Negroes and being used for the master's pleasures to make mulattoes and all this other stuff. He got tired of it. So, he rose up. He got together a coalition of blacks, and he went around and started killing every white person he could actually get in. He could come across. He killed them. He went on a killing spree for a long period of time. Now understand this. The whites would call him all kinds of names. I mean, all kinds of names. Because in their mind, they're thinking that this Negro has lost his mind when the only thing he did was rise up with the same thing that the founding fathers teach us to do when there's tyranny upon you. So he started killing all these white families. And I mean, women, children, men, the whole 9 yards. And he did that, and he come to that conclusion by reading the Bible. So, no telling what they call him, a vigilante, a murderer, insurrector, who knows? But they gave him many, many names. So they gathered together a posse to hunt Nat Turner down, and they end up giving him a trial, which was a very speedy trial. It was fortunate enough he even made it to trial. And they hung him. Today, whenever someone is on the run and they're trying to catch someone that is allegedly so-called a fugitive from justice, The police have become judge, jury, and executioner because they perform all of it at the scene. I would tell you to ask Christopher Donner, but you can't ask him. What I'm getting to is this. In this point in time, the white people didn't believe that they were wrong. At that point in time, Nat Turner did not believe he was wrong. Well, now we're many years past that particular incident right there. What's your position? What do you say? See, now we're going to find out who's racist and who's not, depending on what position you take. Because all you have to do is in anything that you judge is flip the script to see what you would do in that situation. Well, also in this country, when I was born in the 60s, 50s, 60s, they had Jim Crow laws. Basically, it was apartheid. My people were under apartheid here in America. Whites only restaurants, whites only bathrooms, whites only everything. In other words, blacks you can't do it. You have to stay over there because you're segregated. You can't use our stuff, and neither can you come into these particular restaurants and serve you. We won't serve you. And of course, history is replete with that. Now, the question is in that particular time, the whites believed that they were right. The blacks believed that they were right because they wanted freedom. They wanted liberty. They wanted equality. The same thing that is written down in the Constitution of the United States of America. All men are created equal. Now, when we really truly look at the history of that, is that true? That all men were created equal? Because in function, it doesn't seem like at all that all men were created equal. I know it was written on the page, but as a matter of fact, white women were not created equal to white men. And black men and black women definitely were not created equal because neither one of them had a right to vote, nor they had a voice. And even today, we don't have a right to vote. We may go and select. Let me say this again. We may go and elect, but they have already selected. That's obvious when you look at the Democratic National Convention right here, that these gangsters, why don't they just say, you know what? You caught our hand in the cookie jar. We have fudged the election. We have manipulated this election in favor of Hillary Clinton over Bernie Sanders. You caught us. You got us. Why don't Hillary Clinton just resign? Why don't, instead of Debbie Wasserman Schultz, who resigns and then she is immediately on the Clinton staff? You know why? She's a good old girl. They reward them that reward them. So if you take a fall, don't worry about it. We got your back. I'm laying out facts right here in history because, and if you made it this far in this video, because I want you to see that there's two different perspectives here. Two different perspectives. You see, because during that time, my people was having dogs sicked on them. They had fire hydrants and fire hoses anytime they protested for civil rights and civil liberty. And the government just simply did not want to afford them these rights and this liberty. So I ask you now, we fast forward, here we are in 2016. Who do you believe was right? Who do you believe was wrong? Did the blacks actually have a serious issue that should be heard? Were they right to protest? Were they not? Was it right for the whites to defend what they called their own? I let you be the judge. Pastor Dowell, why are you that way about cops? Because I've had cops draw guns on me. I've had cops rule against me in a domestic issue. I'll let you in on. I was a little boy, 16 years old. I had just come back from boxing practice. I was riding my bike. And at the time, we lived in an apartment complex. And I saw all these people gathered around. And all these people was gathered around and they were just watching this just like it was a movie. Nobody doing nothing. Both men, grown men, black and white, grown women, black and white, and children. They were just watching. As this white man had his wife/girlfriend, or whatever you want to call her, bent over a rail I mean, giving her haymakers. Wham, wham, wham. And before I even got there, no telling how many times he done hit this woman. But this man, this white man was beating the living daylights out of this white woman. To me, it didn't make no difference whether she was white or black. I was 16 years old. And mind you, this is a pretty big white man too. So I jumped off my bike. I ran up those steps. I grabbed a hold of him by the back and said, you stop hitting her. He proceeded to call me all kind of little niggers, little this and little that. He swung on me. Well, needless to say, he missed. I just got back from boxing practice. He missed, and I don't mind telling you that I beat the living hell out of him. And I beat the living hell out of him pretty damn good. I messed him up. His face looked like the face of Emmett Till when I got finished with him. Well, when I get finished, I jump on my bike. I go home. I didn't tell my mom and daddy anything. Dinner's there. Next thing you know, there's not one. There's not two. There's not three. But there are 4 police officers sitting at our front door. 4. They asked my dad, is Chucky Dowell here? My dad, because he's an ex-police officer, why do you want to know? Mr. Dowell, we would like for you and your son to come down to the apartment office. My dad proceeded to say, for what? Because he knows the procedure and stuff. Needless to say, we ended up down at the department office. All right. By this time, all the people that was around, there's a big old gathering outside of the actual apartment office. All right. Big old gathering because they saw my dad and I walk down there along with the police. All right. We get inside the apartment office. My dad looks at this man. And then my dad looks at me. And then the cop proceeded to tell my dad this story. Your son assaulted this man. And my dad go, say that again. My son did what? They assaulted this man and they want to press charges. My dad said, who's they? Her and him. My dad asked me, son, what happened? I told him the same story. And I said, if you don't believe me, you can ask all those people that are sitting out front right now. The cops didn't ask none of those people, eyewitnesses, what went on. The cop proceeded to ask the man who I allegedly assaulted, do you want to press charges against him? All of a sudden, another cop walks in. He hears the story and he says, you mean to tell me this little man, this little boy, this little teenager did that to you? After he heard the story, he turns around and he puts the grown man in cuffs for wife abuse. And he tells me, son, I appreciate what you did. Go ahead and go home. Of course, everybody was outside. Hey, good job, Chucky. Hey. I'm looking at all these other men thinking to myself, you bunch of damn cowards. Because I couldn't cuss in front of my mom and daddy then. That's what they were called cussing then, but it literally wasn't cussing. I'm sitting there thinking, you bunch of damn cowards, you. Especially the ones that were sitting there. Grown men. I guess they were scared of the man because of his size. That didn't even enter into my mind whatsoever at all. What got me is that this woman who just got finished literally getting the daylights beat out of her face looked like Emmett Till as well. And if you don't know who Emmett Till is, go search that out. What troubled me is that this woman who just got finished being abused by this man was holding his arm as if she were protecting him against me. I forgot to put this in there. My dad, when that cop asked that man if you want to press charges, my dad said, My son ain't going no damn where. We would tap this whole damn office before my son get in any one of those cars and go down to your jail cell. Oh, boy. I mean, it was getting heated in there. And, of course, I had my fist balled up. I'm thinking we getting ready to knock some more dust off of these. You understand, I'm a little bitty boy, a teenager, and I'm fighting grown men at this particular time. And my dad, at the time, Dad Dowell, was he's 6'4", and he's probably weighing about 200, between 247 and 252, somewhere along in there. So Dad Dowell was just a huge man at that time, and he wasn't no big old fat gut huge man either. And but anyway, when we got back outside, everybody's going, Chucky, yeah, that's right, man. Yeah, I'm looking all this up here. I'm still peed. I'm peed off. And from that time forward, I had a sour taste. Besides having a gun put in my face for doing nothing. I ain't going to need going in there. But I'm laying out some historical experiences. All true. The only one you can't research is the one that I'm telling you. I guess you just have to believe me. You could choose not to, but that is what happened. But everything else I spoke on, you can look it up. You can go Google it. Wikipedia. You can look it all up and see it for yourself. Well, today we have a systemic problem. We are still having people dying unjustly on the street at the hands of law enforcement. And it's systemic. And every single time, 99.9% of the time, no matter how much evidence is stacked against them, they get acquitted. And you know what's happening today? The same attitude. When the whites didn't think there was nothing wrong with them owning slaves, beating them, lynching them, raping them, sodomizing them, and robbing them, they didn't think there was nothing wrong. The black man, Nat Turner, thought something was wrong. When, in the 50s and 60s, during apartheid here in America, Jim Crow laws, they didn't think there was nothing wrong. But the blacks thought it was something wrong. And I'm going to throw this in there too. I see the reason why that when you have civil rights movements, because you can go back and look at the civil rights movements, and you can see just as many white people in the crowd protesting along with the blacks as you do blacks. Even in the Black Lives Matter movement, you can see just as many different ethnic groups and blacks in the crowd. And when I hear them, when they make statements, I hear Fox News spin the narrative and the meaning. I know that the slogan says Black Lives Matter. They're not saying only Black Lives Matter. They're just saying with everything that is going on, our lives do matter. All lives matter. It's my personal sentiment. But I tell you, the racial divide and the tension that is going on in this country, I believe it's all staged. I believe that there's a thing called the Hegelian dialectic. I believe that there's a problem, reaction, and a solution. We create the problem, we prompt a reaction, and we are the ones that's going to come up with the solution. I think it's all about control, every bit of it. So now here we are, we're watching people die on the street unjustly at the hands of a tyrannical government. You mean to tell me that Fox News don't see nothing wrong? But you still have people out here protesting, showing you and stating that there is something wrong, and some people don't want their voice to be heard. Others want their voice to be heard. And we're at total odds, and we're at racial division once again in this country. I wonder what's going to happen when we look back on this 30, 40, 50 years from now. Are we going to admit that this generation was blind as well, like they were during Nat Turner's generation, like they were during the apartheid here in America, during Jim Crow laws? Are we going to admit that? I'm going to read you a quote. I'm going to read you a quote from former president who is now dead, Lyndon B. Johnson, what he said about, and I want y'all to listen to me because, see, I think this is all about the rich ruling over the poor. And when the rich, who are not going to do any work, that's why they seek for jobs like being attorneys. That's why they seek for jobs like being politicians and calling themselves public servants. They line their pockets through the corporations and stuff. They're not going to do any work. No, because they are not about to go out there and build any homes, build any buildings. They're not going to do it. Donald Trump, he boasts that he has a lot of debt. And he's gotten filthy rich off debt. Donald Trump has never built one of those buildings himself. He's put forth the money. He's done the masterminding of it and put other people in place. He gets all the credit. He says Trump Tower. Donald Trump wasn't out there on that crew building that tower. I guarantee he wasn't. You see what I'm saying? So what they do is they say, you know what? Like when Hillary Clinton said to the Dallas Police Department, or talking about how wonderful they were because, how they want everybody to come together in light of the recent police shootings. Why didn't she equally get up there and says, these were some heinous shootings and I condemn them, what these police did in Louisiana and in Minnesota. I totally condemn what they did and we all need to come together. But no, it's police, right? Why? Because the police now have a job from the rich who are paying them. Listen to me for a second. Don't get upset. Just hear me out. The police now have a job from the rich who are paying them. And it's not coming from the poor. Now, mind you, with what I just said, I'm going to quote to you a quote from Lyndon B. Johnson. And I quote, "If you can't convince the lowest white man he's better than the best colored man, he won't notice you're picking his pocket. Hell, give him somebody to look down on and he'll empty his pockets for you." Signed, Lyndon B. Johnson. Whoo! Was that not powerful? Was that not powerful? Wow. Is there a problem in this country? Sure it is. I remember in Africa, the Hutus and the Tutus, they destroy each other. Sound like it's a microcosm of exactly what happens when you have a bunch of people together, no matter what nationality they come from. The Scots, man, they were killing each other. The Highlanders and the Lowlanders was killing each other because they didn't have nobody else to kill. I mean, the Indians, before we even got here, there was tribal warfare. They were killing each other. So no matter where you go, no matter in this world, there's a microcosmic organism that goes on. That a particular nationality, you call it race, would literally be at war with each other like in factions. But I tell you what, when I read this comment from Lyndon B. Johnson, I'm going to read it again. If you can't convince the lowest white man he's better than the best colored man, he won't notice you're picking his pockets. That's what I believe the Democratic National Party is doing to the middle class. That's why I know for sure that's what Fox News has done. I know for sure that's what they've done. Hell, give him somebody to look down on, and he will empty his pockets for you. Signed, Lyndon B. Johnson. In other words, like I've been telling all of us, these people are manipulating, they are coercing, they are using and abusing us. They are playing psychological warfare, and most people can't see the forest for the trees because, I tell you, where you get your mind from, Pastor Dowell, I get it from this. I understand everything that is going on in this world today because for the last 25 years, I have immersed myself in what this book says. Oh, I may not be what you would call a professor after the world's or an expert, but I'm pretty good. I'm pretty good at it. Pretty good at knowing what it says. My question to you is, Be you black or white. And you know, I even hear it from some of my own people, how that they literally just hate me. Because here at the Assembly of Straightway, we have almost 50-50 concerning blacks and whites. We have other ethnicities in our congregation. We have Puerto Ricans, we have Mexicans, we have Japanese, we have Africans, all in this congregation. And people travel from all over the world, from the Netherlands, from Hawaii, from Germany, from England, to come here, and from Canada, to come here and visit us. And some of my own people hate me because whether you understand and like it or not, we don't have racism operating in the midst of us. You may call us a racist, but it's totally irrelevant when you look at our footprint and our lifestyle. I thought I'd say all this. I really true. I'm going to include this video below right here. This white man being shot, and let you be the judge. I said all this before the wicked end comes up on us so that we could actually have something to actually talk about. Hopefully we can do it intelligently. I know we're going to have ignorant people on here because, you know, they're putting on the packages right now. You know, Bro Shane just showed me this morning. He says this food has been genetically engineered. Clearly, that's what it said. He showed it to me. I was like, wow, now they just all but blankly in your face. Well, anyway, I hope I said something to give consideration. Because, you see, this is the real issue, and I'm closing in this. If we cannot admit that there's an issue, if we cannot admit that there's a problem, then the problem will never be solved. We'll continue to keep rationalizing. We'll continue to keep justifying. That's all that's going to continue to keep happening. And we're going to continue to keep watching pushback. And there's going to be opposition on both sides. But if we can't admit that we have a problem, you can be sure that the problem is never going to be solved. But just like it's a microcosmic organism, when you have different factions of people in different geographical locations, literally killing each other, the Scots, the Danes, the Africans, the Hutus, the Tutus, the Indians, no matter who you are, guess what? Here in America, because we all claim to be one nation under God, there's going to be a crossfire from hell, and we're going to end up purging each other out as well.